I just like to help people, you know.
One of those artists was Gunna. You guys did a ton of songs together.
Yeah.
Very successful on your label.
Yeah.
He was arrested about the same time as you. I think a lot of people wonder what that relationship is like now.
Yeah. I know everybody wondering that.
What's it like?
I don't know.
I guess that's his own form of answer, huh?
You like to plow?
I do, absolutely.
The YSL case been one of the craziest stories in hip hop, but now things just flipped on their head. For the longest, it was Gunna wearing the snitch jacket after he took that Alford plea deal and walked free. His name was dragged through the mud, blogs clowned him, rappers unfollowed him, and folks said his career was done. Meanwhile, Young Thug was being painted as the real one, the guy holding it down behind bars while fighting a RICO case that could bury him for life. But then, boom, that interrogation tape of Thug leaked, and suddenly the internet started looking at him sideways too. The footage showed Thug sitting with investigators, calm as ever, answering questions about the 2015 shooting at Lil Wayne's tour bus. They asked him about names like Pee Wee Roscoe and even Birdman, who the streets always believed had ties to the hit. And instead of shutting it all down, Thug distanced himself, saying he had nothing to do with it and pointing fingers elsewhere. To some fans, that looked like survival. To others, it looked exactly like the same snitching energy people clowned Gunna for. The double standard was too loud to ignore. See, for Gunna, that plea deal was his only way out. He admitted YSL was a gang, but didn't take the stand against Thug. Still, the damage was instant. Social media labeled him a rat, rappers cut ties, and every time his name came up, it was followed by snitch. But when that Thug tape dropped, the same folks screaming loyalty suddenly had to face the fact their hero might have been talking too. That's when the narrative flipped. If Gunna's a rat for saving himself, what do you call Thug for answering police questions? And while the internet debated, the reality inside the courtroom stayed heavy. The prosecution kept piling evidence, using lyrics, wiretaps, and years of street history against YSL. They tied the crew to drug deals, shootings, and murders, painting YSL not as a label but as a violent organization running out of Atlanta. It wasn't just about music. They said this was a gang that had been putting in work for years, with Thug as the boss. Then came the heartbreak. In 2024, a 33-year-old mother named Naja Sapphire Cox was killed in front of her child, mistaken for a rival by alleged YSL affiliates. That tragedy was the type of story prosecutors live for. They waved it in front of the jury like, this is the cost of YSL. It didn't matter that Thug wasn't physically there. In the eyes of the law, the boss is responsible for what the crew does. Every new headline just made it harder for him to fight the case. So now you had Gunna walking free, rebuilding his career, and proving the streets wrong, while Thug sat inside, dealing with failing health and a new wave of criticism over that leaked tape. And the question everybody kept asking was simple. In this game, what really matters more? Loyalty to the streets or survival in the system?
When I was locked up and Jeff was locked up, we went viral when they was like, that's the type of friend you want. He was like, man, Roscoe ain't told y'all the damn thing.
When Gunna first walked out of jail in late 2022, it felt like his career was finished. Social media roasted him nonstop. Memes painted him as a rat, and his peers in the game quietly unfollowed him. Even Lil Baby and Meek Mill, rappers who once rocked with him heavy, started moving funny. The internet had one narrative on repeat. Gunna snitched, and there was no coming back from that. But here's the twist. Gunna didn't just lay down. He came home and went right back to the studio. In 2023, he dropped his project, A Gift and a Curse. And to everyone's surprise, the music slapped. Tracks like Bread and Butter had him addressing the rumors head on, saying he never testified, never pointed fingers, and that he was staying focused on the bag. Instead of hiding from the rat talk, he leaned into it, not denying he took a plea, but reminding people that his pen and flow were still sharp. And slowly the streets started paying attention. The same fans who clowned him were now admitting the music was fire. Shows started selling out, TikTok picked up his records, and even blogs that once canceled him had to acknowledge his numbers. Gunna managed to flip the narrative by proving that talent and consistency can outlast gossip. For a while, it looked like he'd be the rare example of someone surviving a snitch jacket in hip-hop. Meanwhile, Young Thug's situation wasn't getting better. His health was reportedly declining behind bars, he was dropping weight, and the stress of the trial was breaking him down. His legal team tried every trick in the book, from arguing about lyrics being used against him to claiming he needed better medical care. But the state wasn't letting up. The RICO case was stacked, and the prosecutors had more than enough to keep him boxed in. Then came the bombshell, that interrogation video of Thug sitting with investigators. When fans saw him distancing himself from the Wayne bus shooting and naming people like Pee Wee Roscoe, the internet exploded. Suddenly, folks started asking the uncomfortable question, why was Gunna crucified for his plea deal while Thug was getting a pass for talking to police? The same fans who had unfollowed Gunna were now calling out the double standard. That's when the tide began to turn. Gunna looked like the one who had played his cards right. He was free, thriving and controlling his story, while Thug looked vulnerable, fighting for his life with a questionable tape hanging over his head. The once clear line between the snitch and the real one blurred completely. For Gunna, the comeback wasn't just about music. It was about survival in an industry that loves to cancel and clown. He showed that as long as the songs hit, the fans eventually forgive. For Thug, though, the leaked tape made survival in both the courtroom and the culture a whole lot harder. The prosecutors didn't just want young Thug for music lyrics. They wanted him painted as the kingpin of YSL, a gang they claimed terrorized Atlanta for years. They lined up evidence like dominoes, trying to prove YSL wasn't a record label, but a violent street organization with Thug as its boss. They brought up murders, drug deals, and shootings that stretched back nearly a decade, making it clear they weren't just after foot soldiers. They were after the top dog. One of the darkest moments that prosecutors pushed heavy was the tragic case of Naja Sapphire Cox in 2024. The 33-year-old mother was shot and killed in front of her child, all because YSL affiliates allegedly mistook her for a rival target. That mistake turned into a horror story, a kid watching their mother die right in front of them. The state waved this case like a flag in court, saying it proved YSL's recklessness. Even though Thug wasn't there, the feds argued that as the leader, the blood was on his hands. It didn't matter if he pulled the trigger. In a RICO, the boss pays for the crew's actions. And that wasn't the only card they had. They pointed to the infamous Lil Wayne tour bus shooting in 2015, a case that's haunted Thug for years. Prosecutors tied Pee Wee Roscoe, allegedly close to Thug, to the shooting, and then pulled up Thug's interrogation footage where he distanced himself and dropped names. To the state, that tape was proof that Thug knew what was happening, even if he denied involvement. To the culture, it made him look shaky, like he wasn't living up to the same street code he expected from others. They also highlighted YSL's street reputation. Witnesses claimed YSL wasn't just a clique, it was a force in Atlanta tied to extortion, drug trafficking, and intimidation. Prosecutors read out lyrics from Thug's catalog like they were evidence files. Lines about green and red, slime colors, murder for hire, and kill for loyalty. Hip-hop fans might hear art, but prosecutors spun it as confession. That became one of the biggest debates of the trial. Can lyrics be used as evidence, or is it just creative expression? Either way, the damage was done. Jurors now saw Thug's bars as blueprints. What made it worse was the snitching domino effect. Once Gunna took his deal, others followed. Affiliates started flipping one by one, giving the state more ammo against Thug. Every time someone walked free, the weight shifted heavier onto Thug's shoulders. In the eyes of the law, he wasn't just another rapper. He was the alleged boss of a criminal enterprise. So when fans argued about loyalty, the courtroom told a different story. Gunna might have worn the rat jacket online, but in the system, Thug was the one drowning. His empire was collapsing, his health was breaking, and his own words in that interrogation video had people questioning the same loyalty he demanded from everyone else. At the end of the day, the YSL case turned into more than just a courtroom drama. It became a culture war about loyalty versus survival. For a long time, Gunna carried the snitch label like a scarlet letter. Every rapper who unfollowed him, every blog that clowned him, every fan who turned their back, they all swore he'd never bounce back. But he proved everybody wrong. He came home, stayed consistent with the music, and now he's back on top of charts and stages. It didn't erase the rat jokes, but it showed that in hip-hop, talent and persistence can sometimes outweigh street gossip. Meanwhile, Thug's reality flipped. The same fans who once praised him as the real one started side-eyeing him when that interrogation footage surfaced. The man who was supposed to be silent and solid was now on camera answering questions, dropping names, and distancing himself from crimes tied to his circle. To the streets, that looked hypocritical. How can you clown Gunna for protecting himself, but give Thug a pass for doing the same thing? That double standard is what sparked endless debates online. And the truth is, neither side wins. Thug's health is fading behind bars, his empire is crumbling, and the state wants to bury him under a RICO sentence that could keep him locked up forever. Gunna's free, but every step of his comeback is haunted by the snitch talk. The YSL brand, once a symbol of Atlanta's new wave dominance, is now synonymous with betrayal, tragedy, and broken codes. The bigger picture is how this trial exposed hip-hop's complicated relationship with the no-snitching code. On one hand, rappers push loyalty to the streets as the ultimate law. On the other hand, the system is designed to crush you if you don't play ball. Gunna chose survival and lived to keep rapping. Thug tried to ride it out, but even he ended up on camera saying things people never expected to hear. The irony is thick. The guy branded as a rat came out thriving, while the one labeled solid might not make it out at all. And let's not forget the victims in this whole saga. From Lil Wayne's crew caught in that bus shooting to innocent people like Naja Sapphire Cox losing their lives in crossfire, YSL's alleged violence left real scars on communities. The music industry debates loyalty and snitching, but the streets remember the blood spilled. That's why the feds came down so hard, because behind the fame and the hits, they saw a pattern of chaos they wanted to shut down for good. So where does this leave the culture? Some fans ride for Thug no matter what, swearing he's a victim of a broken system. Others say Gunna made the smart move, and that loyalty is just a trap that keeps black men locked in cages. What's clear is this: the YSL case is one of the most important tests hip-hop has ever faced when it comes to separating art from reality, image from survival. And when the dust finally settles, the legacy of Young Thug and Gunna won't just be about music. It'll be about how they forced the culture to confront the hardest question of all. In this game, what matters more? Loyalty to the streets or survival in the system?